Hey, welcome.
Hey, hello.
How you doing? We're just gonna wait for a couple people to join.
Sorry.
So first of all, I want to welcome everyone to the inaugural edition of Digital Commerce Today, a joint effort amongst Trellis and a number of our top partners. Today we're going to go through a number of subjects. I'll do a quick overview. I don't want to take any of the shine away from really a lot of the thought leaders and geniuses that were nice enough to join today. So I'll get up on my soapbox for just a couple of moments and sort of share my thoughts, as well as my partner and our CEO at Trellis's thoughts on sort of what's going on, and a couple tips that hopefully are somewhat useful. But the reality is of course times have really changed, and whether it's e-commerce, the way that we interact, the way that we look at sort of our own personal health and what's important in life, there's no doubt that thanks to pesky Corona, who, as you can see, no one really loves, things are going to change. When it comes to our industry, for some, this is going to be an amazing opportunity for David to take down Goliath. I think it's unprecedented times for the scrappy startups to go after the traditional large retail giants and make a mark. But the issue is for some also, this is going to be a time where people will not adapt to the changing times, and of course they're going to bear the consequences. Two of the hosts today, and sort of for the next 10 minutes having your attention, is myself, Jared Shaner. I'm one of the partners and the CRO at Trellis. We're sort of a forward-thinking, full-service e-commerce agency that tends to work with really innovative B2C as well as B2B brands, looking to create a holistic digital value chain. And I'm joined by Isaiah, our original founder, who has a special eye and focus towards B2B, and probably be sharing some of his thoughts as it relates to this. So cool. I'll turn it over to sort of Isaiah to share what he's seeing in the space. I'll share some of my thoughts, lay down a couple sort of ground rules and ways you can best take advantage of today's event, and then I'll turn it over to the far smarter minds.
Yeah, so some of the things that we're seeing really work well for companies. I mean, a lot of people from the change in the economy due to coronavirus, but a lot of companies that we're seeing really succeed are finding the right kind of like niches within the advertising, paid advertising realm of digital. So we really advocate at this stage that you shouldn't be afraid to advertise. I think you just have to be a little bit smarter about where you spend your money. But there's so many channels out there between the major networks like Google and Facebook, and you have within them like little specific areas like I guess not little, but YouTube. Then you have some of the smaller ad places like Pinterest, and Snapchat. So we feel like there's a lot of opportunity out there as advertising dollars have gone down generally across the board because a lot of big companies had to slow down their spend. There's new areas to kind of get better ROI than ever before. So we really feel like this is the time to not be afraid to advertise, but just be smart about where you're spending. The other big thing is just better communication. E-commerce, the big difference is obviously you're not in person. You can't have that, in-person experience, but with email, with all the different ways to communicate, I think that there's so many more opportunities to kind of show that you're a real company and a real person behind, this, e-commerce website. And this is the best opportunity that I think we've ever seen to get rid of the email and SMS. I really think SMS is a great opportunity right now with text. The other thing too is to set expectations for your communication. Like shipping might be slower, something might be different with your situation, so you want to communicate to the customer. We've seen a lot of companies put a little banner like, shipping might be slower, or please bear with us with our service for whatever reason they want to explain to the customer. The last point is probably the most important. I think now is more important than ever to be agile. I think traditionally companies have just moved too slow with e-commerce. They go through this like slow kind of RFP process, and they take a while to find a vendor. Then that project gets dragged out. Sometimes it takes them years to re-platform or redevelop their website. I would really urge people to start kind of thinking about ways to become a little bit more agile, maybe take on projects from more of an agile MVP standpoint of like, hey, how do I get this new feature up quickly, and then I can maybe improve it later. So really coming up with more of an agile roadmap where you can see things being executed on like a weekly and monthly basis and not months or years. So yeah, Jared, I'll let you continue.
Cool. Yeah, and actually, as part of my notes, I'll get to it later because I just want to make sure that everyone in later sessions is a little bit more organized than us. But if you can't see our screen, you just need to double click on my image, Jared Chainer, as well. If everyone in future sessions doesn't mind just clicking the little mute button, unless you're speaking, then that would of course help, just like Zoom. So cool. So Jared's take, and keep in mind, it's sort of a good balancing act, because whereas Isaiah is very focused on B2B, and certainly I'd suggest everyone pokes his brain in the networking sessions and chat, if specifically you are looking at B2B. I look at it a little bit more of a direct consumer startup space, as most of my focus. So I've noticed a couple things through conversations, as well as talking to other agencies and brands within the e-commerce space. And one of the things that really have been sticking out is while we're all in the e-commerce space, there always has been something magical about going to the store and shopping. So people don't necessarily miss the actual store and the annoyance of other shoppers and smashing your shopping carts into each other and all that. But what we do need to focus on more than ever as e-commerce brands and agencies, merchants, software providers, is giving that level of customer service through personalization. Now that people can't go into store, and quite honestly for a long time probably won't be returning to stores in the same fashion as they did, we need to be able to sort of replicate that experience of a sales rep coming up to you that's looking at your body type, that gets to know your skin tone so that you know what type of shirt will fit, or what kind of snowboard will be a good fit, which means double down on AI and personalizations, so that when Jared or Isaiah or anyone else visits a store, it feels as though that experience is curated, and that also that brand is trying to speak to them and get to know you as a consumer better. We've seen a lot of good use cases of AI, and chat bots have become more and more prevalent. So if this is something you haven't looked into yet, certainly suggest you reach out to some leaders in the space, or even happy to help you out myself. The other thing, which I sort of got to in this David versus Goliath, that there's a to invest more and more in e-commerce. Of course, they've done this mostly through strengthening channel relationships with some of the retail stores and Amazon. But now, people are looking to satisfy certain, day-to-day needs as well as wants through purchasing, which means nimble direct-to-consumer brands have a huge opportunity to grab some market share in everything from consumer goods to apparel to electronics. So you need to be brave, and you need to be willing to go up against Goliath and potentially overtake them when it comes to e-commerce. And the last thing that I've sort of noticed in terms of things that have been really successful, while we've seen a lot of our merchants double down on customer acquisition spends, as Isaiah mentioned, focusing on your advertising and your strategy is really important there. But the people that we've been seeing like double-digit growth pretty consistently, and some of our merchants as high as over 100%, have been those that not only are going after sort of customer acquisition to sort of get some of this land grab, but more importantly have been reconnecting with old friends, aka customers. It's really time to build out some email drip campaigns, touch points with old consumers that maybe haven't converted in a while or forgotten about you or have churned, as well as trying to come up with strategies to create sustainable income now when people are at home. Of course, I'm talking about subscriptions. So if subscription management has been something you've tinkered with, I think now is certainly a time to play around with that. So perfect. Those are some of my thoughts. I don't want to become too long-winded. So more importantly, what are we going to talk about sort of the rest of today? Up next is our friends from Celigo, the #1 integration provider, as well as Ruby has fulfillment. A number of sessions which you guys can all see in the sort of home screen for today's event. But I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to the much smarter minds who came in and helped us today. Magento and Adobe, Celigo, Pinterest, Ruby has, Klaviyo, the amazing brand Thinks, who's definitely taking advantage of the land grab right now, SearchSpring, Liquid Pixels, as well as ShipStation. So a couple of quick things to make sure we all get the most value out of today's time. And I know there's a ton of webinars, so I'll make sure we take advantage of the value here. So the first thing, almost all of our sponsors today are coming to us with special offers in order for you to try out their software or access it at a highly discounted rate. For instance, Trellis will be offering a free 10-hour audit to all attendees if they sign, so $1,600 value. And we have an area named the Expo Hall. Think of it as sort of the booths at a conference. So certainly check those out and take advantage. As well, one of the functionalities that we certainly want to take advantage today is the fact that we can't be at conferences, so we can't get around and share thoughts over a glass of whiskey or wine. So networking is really easy today. You'll see a networking tab, and you'll get connected one-on-one for anywhere from 30 to 3 minutes. 30 seconds to 3 minutes. So you can quickly and efficiently interact with other brands, other software providers, other people in the space to sort of see what people are up to. One of the last things is questions are, of course, encouraged. We have a chat functionality on the right side, both within every session and as for the event as a whole totality. So certainly, ask questions during sessions and interact as much as you can. But please don't interrupt. So if you can keep yourself muted during the actual sessions, we're trying to save 5 or 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions we can. And then the last thing, which would probably been helpful for this session as well, is make sure when you join your sessions today to double click on the speaker. That'll maximize so you can see their presentation. Other than that, certainly enjoy your session, and we appreciate you joining today from Trellis and all of the partners. I'll look forward to speaking to you guys in later sessions today. Cool. We'll talk soon.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.